banking system has been grappling with huge NPAs for a while now, and the resolution has been a challenging affair despite a multitude of facilitations. In this context, the insolvency code is indeed a game changer, as it would finally create a creditor-friendly, structurally strong ecosystem that facilitates initiation of the insolvency process and focuses on quicker, easier, and faster resolutions. The beneficiaries of successful implementation of the IBC are many. Apart from the banks and asset reconstruction companies, India's economy itself will stand to gain, as we are not going to kill the businesses. We want to resolve the businesses, enlighten them, bring them up again, and start functioning again. In conjunction with the ongoing structural reforms, IBC would have a positive impact on India's ease of doing business ranking too. As you would see, when the IBC was brought in, the ranking of was 130 at the international level, ease of doing business ranking, whereas India has now reached at a level of around 70. The code will benefit the corporates, the professionals and employees, boost investor confidence, and facilitate deepening of the domestic corporate bond market. This will help improve the overall business environment and encourage entrepreneurship and innovation. However, as is the case with any law, the success of IBC will hinge on its effective implementation. As we have seen over the years, the code is in effect for last 2 years now. There were initial hitches, and the government is really very quick in bringing out the amendments to cover up the issues that are being practically faced. As you will see, there is a recent amendment also, which has taken care of the issues brought out by the SR case, wherein it was delivered, the decision was delivered that all the stakeholders, including the bankers, the operational creditors, they should get at par. However, the purpose of the code is to give priority as per the waterfall mechanism that is provided in the code as to who is to be given the priority. The priorities are, the workers are given the topmost priority after the CIRP cost that is to be covered. After the workers, the employees, the secured creditors are given the priority. The government has taken the last step in the priority. Initially, in the earlier era, the government used to always take the highest priority in recovering their dues. However, under the IBC, the government has taken a back foot, and it has kept the interest of the industry, the economy in the forefront. The focus is now on optimum debt reduction, including through potential transfer of assets to a different management that can bring in the resources needed to scale up the cash flow. The IBC is one of the reforms that will strategically strengthen the identification and resolution of insolvencies in India. Undoubtedly, the code has brought a sea change in insolvency resolution towards a creditor-friendly regime, thereby restoring the balance of bargaining power, which was hitherto with the debtors. The code enhances the rights of the creditors, irrespective of the type, whether it is a financial or operational entity, and empowers in identifying the bankruptcies and initiate resolution proceedings through an ecosystem that comprises of there are 4 pillars of the insolvency code. One is the regulator, the others are the insolvency professionals, there are information utilities, and there's an insolvency fund. So all these pillars will together run the ecosystem and try to get success. The success of the code hinges on strengthening its ecosystem, which will help in protecting the interests of various stakeholders, instilling financial discipline among the borrowers, and create a robust platform to attract investors. Unsecured credit based on cash flows, going concern, renewed vigor, new directions, new outlook, better value, foster more risk-taking, and better use of capital are the positive aspects of this code. Better access to credit for new entrepreneurs will create greater economic dynamism by increasing competition. The capital and labor that is blocked in industrial disease will be reduced. Corporate bond market will be developed. Basically, a limited liability company is a contract between equity and debt. As long as the debt obligations are met, the equity owners will have complete control, and the creditors will have no say in the operations of the business. But when the default occurs, it is necessary that the creditors take control of the business, and that is what actually the insolvency and bankruptcy code provides. The failure of some business plans is integral to the process of the market economy. When the business failure takes place, the best outcome for the society is to have a rapid renegotiation between the financiers to finance the going concern using a new arrangement of liabilities and with a new management team. So possibly if the current management is not able to revive the business, under the insolvency code, a new management may come to take over the business of the company and to revive it. When such arrangements cannot be put in place, the market process of creative destruction that will work smoothly will create competitive vigor and greater competition. When a firm defaults, the question arises about what is to be done. Many possibilities may arise. One possibility is to take firm directly into liquidation. Another possibility is to negotiate the restructuring where the creditors accept a reduction of the debt on the NPV basis and hope that the negotiated value exceeds the liquidation value. Now, what is the liquidation value? Liquidation value is a value where if the company is totally shut down and it is sold off in pieces, bits and pieces. So it is better, it will lose its enterprise value if it is liquidated. So here we are making an attempt to get the full enterprise value, maximize the value of the assets of the company. Another possibility is to sell the firm as a going concern. That is what exactly I was just mentioning. And to use the process to pay the creditors. So there could be many such various hybrid structures that can be found out. For some firms, the right answer after default is to take the firm into liquidation. But there may be situations in which a viable mechanism can be found through which the firm is protected as a going concern. To the extent this can be done, the costs imposed upon the society to go down, as the liquidation involves destruction of the organizational capital of the firm. If it goes into liquidation, the total organizational capital is destructed, and we lose huge value. So what can a sound bankruptcy law achieve? It can achieve improved handling of the conflicts between the creditors and the debtors. The previous section lays out the types of conflict between the creditors and debtors. The role of the law in a formal bankruptcy process is to lay down the rules of procedure into which the conflict is channeled and results into solution. A sound legal framework provides for procedural certainty. There has to be procedural certainty. That is why the laws lays down the various procedures, and they are being amended from time to time as per the practical issues that are being faced. And the government has been quick enough to update and amend the code regularly as per the practical experiences. A sound legal framework will provide procedural certainty in such a way as to reduce the problems of common property and to reduce information asymmetry for all the economic participants. It also strives to avoid destruction of value. As it is a time-bound process, we can maximize the value of the assets in a time-bound manner, because if it lingers on as has been happening in the earlier era, the value of the property is lost. A sound legal process also provides flexibilities for parties to arrive at the most efficient solution to maximize value during negotiations. If the enterprise is insolvent, the payment failure implies a loss which must be borne by some of the parties involved. So who will take that loss? That will be dealt with here in this process. From the viewpoint of the economy, some firms undoubtedly need to be closed down, but many firms possess useful organizational capital. Across a restructuring of liabilities and in the hands of new management team, a new set of owners, some of these organizational capital can be protected. The objective of the bankruptcy and process is to create a platform for negotiation between the creditors and the external financiers, which can create possibility of such rearrangements. It is not necessary that all business will run successfully. There is always a risk associated with entrepreneurship. Some of the business plans will go wrong. Limited liability corporations are an important mechanism that fosters risk-taking. Control of a company is not the divine right, and the principles on which the insolvency code functions is the provision of certainty in the market to promote efficiency and growth. There has to be maximization of the value of the assets. There has to be we have to strike a balance between the liquidation and reorganization. We have to ensure equitable treatment of similarly situated creditors. Then there has to be provision of timely, efficient, and impartial resolution of insolvency. There has to be preservation of the insolvency estate to allow equitable distribution of creditors. And we have to ensure a transparent and predictable insolvency law that contains incentives for gathering and dispensing information. Then there has to be recognition of the existing creditor rights and establishment of clear rules for ranking priority of the claims. Then there has to be establishment of a framework for cross-border insolvency. As of now, the code does not provide for cross-border insolvency, but it is in progress. How the code will help? The code will help by facilitating the assessment of viability of the enterprise at a very, very early stage. The code will enable symmetry of information between creditors and debtors. The code will ensure a time-bound process to better preserve the economic value. It will ensure that it's a collective process. All the stakeholders are being considered. The court will respect the rights of all the creditors equally. The court must ensure that when negotiations fail to establish viability, the outcome of the bankruptcy must be binding. So if resolution fails, liquidation is imminent. The court must ensure clarity of priority and that the rights of all the stakeholders are upheld in resolving the bankruptcy. While the IRP is in process, the law enshrines a certain period where creditors stay there. During the process of insolvency, there is a calm period. That is, no stakeholder, no government authority, no regulatory authority can take any action, recovery action or any other action against the company, and the company is allowed to operate peacefully. This gives them a better chance for the firm to survive as a going concern. For the 180 days for which the IRP is in operation, the committee of creditors will analyze the company, they will hear the rival proposals, and they will make up the mind whether they want to accept the resolutions which have been put forth before them or they want to go into liquidation. So this approach has many strengths. It is being dealt with thoroughly, it is being studied thoroughly, and a proper decision is being arrived at after evaluating the various proposals that are put forth before the committee of creditors. The promoters also can make a proposal to buy back the company for a certain price if they are eligible. That there is a particular section called section 29A under which they are ineligible. If they come within the criteria of any of the clause of section 29A, they become ineligible. Generally, the MSMEs are allowed to take over the company. All parties know that if no deal is struck within the stipulated period, the company will go into liquidation. This will help to avoid delaying the tactics. The inability of the promoters to steal from the company owing to the supervision of the IP also helps to reduce the incentive to have a slow lingering death. The role of the adjudicator will be on the process issues. There is an adjudicating authority who will supervise the process and adjudicate the decisions of the committee of creditors and the IP to ensure that all the financial creditors were indeed the committee of creditors and that 66% of the creditors do indeed support the resolution plan. We have seen many amendments and changes during the last few weeks. These amendments were not only motivator for the stakeholders and insolvency professionals, but also to establish faith in the uniqueness and the speed of IBC, which attracted everyone initially. The regulatory amendments by the IBBI and involving CIRP and liquidation, IP, UAs, IPAs are timely and need-based. In this sense, the IBC will have far-reaching consequences on the economy and try to revive the companies under stress. Thank you.